What's up YouTube? Welcome to update number 8 of season 1 in Midnight. My name is Petko and today we're going to talk about every single thing when it comes down to Mythic Plus and how each class performs against the other following the most recent class changes which came out 3 days ago. Keep in mind, the Midnight comes out in 18 days if you have early access, so we are getting very close to the release, and if you haven't chosen Ultra Main, time is getting, not on your behalf, okay? Let's just say that you have limited time to choose what to play, but then again, choice is yours. Nobody has really pressured you so far. Anyway, once again, for the people that don't know the rules, there will be more class changes coming in. There's gonna be at least 3 or 4 more weeks of class changes, depending on really how they're gonna spin the heroic week, or I guess the no content week, the way I like to say it. So if your class performance is really bad right now or really good, there's a very high chance of that getting to be changed. So no panic yet. You're gonna start panicking at the end of February. Not yet though. Anyway, Fire Mage is an absolute shithole of a spec. I'm sorry to say this, but Fire is right now actually quite down bad. It's been doing not only bad output when it comes down to single target, but also their out of cooldown damage, out of combustion, what I meant, is really horrendous. However, I must say this, on the extreme high level of keys, on the 17s and 19s and 20s on beta, which is pretty much considered rank 1 title keys, Fire does not perform that bad and you're still gonna have okay-ish output. Maybe like at best mid performer if you're really good with a first title rank 1 player with 47 centimeters of biceps. Only then you can actually make Fire work. But if you're not, if you're average Andy, I suggest you stay away from Fire until further changes. Havoc DH, one of the few specs, if not the only one spec, that has not seen a singular change in 2026, which to me is very big, mind-boggling experience. And the only reason why I think Havoc hasn't seen many changes and every other class is being getting buffed is there's only 2 reasons. The first reason, which I think I'm more inclined to believe, is that Havoc is actually getting something very large coming for them in the near future. That is the first one. It might be super hopeful thinking, but maybe it is the case. And the second reason is because Devourer DH is the new spec and they want to make Devourer really strong or fun to play, hence why all of the Havoc DH players would like to be converted to Devourers. That's like 2 reasons. I don't know which one you guys want to believe. I'm more inclined to actually go with the first one. Arms Warrior is the next in line right next to Havoc DH. They just nerfed Arms Warrior. I don't know what you want to say. So one of the mediocre specs got nerfed while the specs that were performing really good got buffed. Make it make sense to me. I am absolutely in shambles. I did not believe when I read the patch notes myself. In my opinion, Arms is most definitely a let's just say a unique experience on beta if you want to develop Crippling Depression in the next 10 minutes. Really fast one. So yeah, Arms definitely undertuned, and quite frankly, I was expecting buffs on their behalf, not nerfs. Especially single target buffs was something that I was really hoping to see. Preservation Evoker is the only healer so far that I have ranked in the C tier. They quite frankly has not seen any changes while other healers were just getting buffed. So right now you are falling behind on having mana issues, you're falling behind on damage, and you're falling behind also on HPS. All of this combined together is making Preservation Evoker to be a C tier worthy contender. Although in my opinion, you'll be doing better in the rate than you are going to be doing in Mythic Plus. But so yeah, no dooming yet. Beastmaster Hunter went from above average to a massive nerf on their single target and on their AoE damage. So your AoE on the Beastmaster Hunter is still actually quite decent, but the single target on BM Hunter is horrendous. It's just horrendous. It's like one of the worst so far when it comes down to single target, which in my opinion is one of the main reasons for you to actually get to the B tier spot. Now for the people that do not remember, Beastmaster Hunter got a significant nerf 3 days ago which is mostly in a double digit, anything between 14 to 17% depending on the builds you are playing and hero talents. Why did BM get nerfed and the rest of the classes did not? I have no idea, but Beastmaster Hunter got the biggest nerf across all specs 3 days ago. So that's about it. Quite unfortunate for you. Destruction Warlock. An absolute craziness of balancing when it comes down to Destruction Warlock, and still to this day I have no idea how are they approaching the spec. Now, capstones on Destrolock are absolutely horrible. Even though you got buffed on single target, the buff is not nearly enough. You just need more adjustments on ST. Your ST is really terrible. The sustain AoE damage is somewhat okay, the burst AoE damage is somewhat okay, but the single target is what is pulling you down. Perhaps a shift towards more Chaos Bolt buffs will account for a lot better performance, especially on ST/prior target damage. That's about it. Destro ain't looking good, especially against the sibling specs of Demonology, for example, and Affliction Warlock. Not looking great, chat. It is Windwalker Monk going to the B tier. Why are you saying enhance? You are disrespecting the enhanced shamans. Windwalker is the winner. Now, there are quite a few things I don't like about Windwalker Monk. First of all, yes, you did not get any changes this week, but every other spec around your tier got buffed. Some of them got nerfed, but you definitely did not get any changes. Your single target is still going to be great. You're still going to be good in a physical comp because you have Mystic Touch. You're still going to have good burst, but your sustain damage is just way too low. Outside of cities, you pretty much are struggling to compete right now with the rest of the specs. And if you have very bad cooldown management, I feel like you're gonna suffer a lot. On top of this, you're actually quite squishy, which for the most part, it's not gonna be of an advantage of yours. Which again, this is gonna be a triple L, and unfortunately, you will be getting back to the B tier. Keep in mind, last week, Windwalker was like bottom of A tier, top of B tier. Right now, you fell like 4 spots down, just because other specs are getting changes. Retribution Paladin has seen buffs, okay? They have seen buffs this week, both for Templar and Herald, and I'm here to say that the Retribution Paladin are actually doing better than last week. Are they the best melee spec? Fuck no. Are they the worst? Fuck no. Okay? They do better. Better frontal burst, better prior target damage, better ST. Overall, still L, but one step forward to greatness. Unfortunately, you just still need a shit ton of changes, but it is something, okay? It is something. It is gonna be Frost Decay. Frost Decay got nerfed, especially with their best build, which is gonna be the Rider of the Apocalypse. And right now, they are switching back to Deathbringer, but Deathbringer just, it's not the same. The single target of Rider is pretty bad. The AoE is still very strong, but if you do no single target, it doesn't really matter. Your 2 targets is one of the worst so far across the game, and quite frankly, there is no reason to play Frost Decay. Just play Unholy. It's much better. There's just no reason to play Frost right now. In the current tuning, at least, you know, perhaps it's gonna change with the future tunings, but right now, all the way down for Frost Decays. Subtlety Rogue belongs to the B tier. And before you guys are eating my head out, I'm gonna give you the main reason why I believe Sub Rogue is in B tier. You ready? You cannot counter me. Single target. Single target, it is one of the worst across all specs right now in the game. And although the AoE is actually doing pretty well, quite competitive AoE damage, both on-demand burst and sustain, the single target is absolutely Z. Not 0, Z, which is actually worse than 0. You're pretty much the BM Hunter of melees. You do great AoE every couple of seconds, but your single target is absolutely horse shit. Actually quite worse than horse shit. It's cow shit, which is unironically worse because it's bigger and juicier. I have left only one healer to the B tier, and that's gonna be Holy Priest. Holy Priest just simply a better Press Evoker, does better healing, better prior healing, in my opinion, better toolkit for Mythic Plus. The AoE healing is one of the biggest reasons why I believe Holy is still in the B tier. They struggle to compete in HPS on like heavy AoE encounters. That's pretty much the only reason why I believe Holy is there. And also Disc is also better. And that's another reason why I believe Holy is there yet. As soon as there are more changes on behalf of Holy, I'll let you guys know. But for now, I think B tier is pretty fair for them. And I'm gonna name you. I've got the Disc Priest, I've got the Restoration Shaman, and I've got also the Mistweaver Monk. Now, the reason why Mistweaver was promoted from B tier to A tier is because of the buffs they just received, which I believe they make them better than Holy Powder, but worse than Restoration Shaman and Discipline Priest. The healing on Mistweaver Monk is actually quite great in my opinion. The toolkit is horrible for Mythic Plus. I believe it's one of the worst so far across all healers, which I think is one of the main reasons why I believe Mistweaver is just not an amazing choice. And I think DPS so far is just irrelevant anyway. But also Mystic Touch is absolutely useless because most of the time you will be playing in a caster-oriented setup, which is definitely the better choice right now. Restoration Shaman. Clearly, the AoE heals on Restoration Shaman they are struggling just like Holy Priest, although the prior target healing is actually quite good. The utility on Shaman, however, is top tier. Quite frankly, there's a few specs in this game that have better utility than you have, and that's, I think, Druid or Priest coming close second, or Paladin, I guess, it depends on the key. But Shaman has everything, bro. Sky Fury, Bloodlust, Purge, Stun, the Curse as well. This is all very valuable stuff. Also, you're the only heal that has an interrupt, which is, you know, great. Tremor is whatever. I don't think you have much use in Tremor in this season. Maybe like one use, that's about it. For the most part, it's irrelevant utility. So yeah, that's about a Shaman. And Discipline Priest, unfortunately, you've got hit twice with nerfs back to back, and I still think you're a good pickup, but just not insane anymore. That's about it. Utility is great on Discipline Priest. The shields from Oracle are just too meaty and good. That's fine. I think the HPS is just the only thing that I believe is just, you know, it got hit twice, so other healers just do better right now. That's why, you know, that's why. I mean, you're like the 3rd to 4th best healer in Mythic Plus. It depends on the key and setup you're playing. I've placed Protection Warrior to the A tier and Blood Decay to the B tier. Now, Blood Decay got buffed recently. They will get a lot better damage. I think Blood Decay damage is just not a problem. At this point, I would say they're exactly on par as other tanks in damage. For the most part, they are behind, obviously, but not by a big margin. The durability is the only reason why I am placing Blood Decay on A tier. Lack of rate utility or party buff, whatever you want to call it, and also durability issues at times are the main reasons of placing Blood Decay on A tier. Following Protection Warrior, I think Prot Warrior is actually quite tanky, but the most recent nerfs, in my opinion, are putting them slightly behind others because other tanks are just getting some, you know, general buffs, which I believe are making them better than what Warrior is. Also, Warrior is kind of limited to playing in a physical comp, or at least physical oriented comp, which right now does not do well. There's only 1 or 2 good melees that can fit in a physical comp. Sadly, that's the reality for Warriors. You're still gonna be fine, you're still gonna be doing okay, but just nothing crazy. Definitely a lot tankier than Blood Decay is though. So that's not even close to a argument here. Assassination Rogue, likely the worst and the least fun spec that I had a chance of playing myself on beta. And although the quality of life changes are supposed to be better, Assassination Rogue still is going to be doing okay damage, but the playstyle and fun wise is probably at least 0 out of 5 for me in Mythic Plus. But what is true. The damage itself on Asa, it feels better. They got buffed. Better single target. I feel like Assassination Rogue might have the best ST across all rogue specs, which is actually Not quite a competition because Sub Rogue does 0 ST, Outlaw got recently nerfed, and Asta Rogue just got buffed, so Asta Rogue might be the go-to spec for pure ST Mythic Plus if that's what you need. The AoE damage is actually good if you play high level keys. If you are playing low level keys or mid level keys or average level keys, whatever you want to call it, like 15, 16s, I would absolutely recommend you to not touch Asta Rogue with 10-meter pole. Okay, that's how down bad this shit is if you are playing low level keys. But when mobs live longer and you have a chance to Garrote, max combo points, Rapture, Crimson Tempest, get on 7 targets your Garrotes and Raptures, and then you start spam Fan of Night, Fog, and Venom, then it can do damage. And God forbid if they kill your prior target while you have your Kingsbane Death Mark on that target, you will get absolutely no value out of your major cooldowns, they do 0 damage. So it is very much frustrated. On top of this, you're actually cooked because you starve of energy quite consistently, which in my opinion is another issue of Asta Rogue that must be resolved very soon. No, I don't think you wanna Garrote and Rapture every target. You wanna pretty much make sure you get at least 5 Raptures out because of your agility take. But I believe because they buffed recently Garrotes and Rapture, they nerfed your Envenom. And the costing Spider right now, obviously this less, that's why I said Envenom. You wanna actually get the Garrotes and Raptures on like a meaty targets quite consistently. So I think more than, like, let's say if you're fighting 20 targets, for the most part, you want to have like 5 to 7 if you can, maybe a bit more, and then you just go with Fox and Venoms. Shadow Priest. I know what you're gonna tell me, but let me tell you something. I have tried absolutely everything on Shadow Priest. Absolutely everything when it comes down to builds, including Arcane builds, and neither of them performed amazing. At best, you were doing average. At best, including Invoke Nightmare builds, which is, by the way, something you'll never play anyway. I've tried the Misery builds, I've tried the Pet build, I've tried Yoxeron, I've tried Arcane, I've tried Mind Blast builds without the Predation, I've tried everything. And if you're playing casual level keys, it's still gonna be fine. But unfortunately, majority of the DPSers around you are gonna be doing better damage. The Invoke Nightmare build does very good single target. So if you're actually doing mythic raid content or raid content, Shadow Priest is still a fantastic spec. I must say that. For a raid progression, Shadow Priest is still going to be good spec because a lot of fights are spread cleave, and Shadow Priest is the king of the spread cleave. Might not be the best, but it's not going to be worse. You know, that's going to be a guarantee. Unless they obviously get nerfed again. Well, Shadow Priest should be at least B tier. If you look around it, Shadow Priest right now is considered around the middle of the tier list, which is, you know, mid-tier perform, which I don't think is that far ahead. You're gonna see how many DPS specs are gonna be placed behind them. I think A tier means, like B tier means horrible, C tier means doomed, A tier means average. And anything above this is above average and insane. You know, I think that's pretty much it. I am sick of tired of this spec, so it is the best rogue spec in the game, chat. It's gonna be Outlaw Rogue. Okay, so first of all, I would like to say this. Outlaw Rogue is still, in my opinion, one of my favorite melees to play myself as a fun-wise factor, which is something always to consider when it comes down to playstyle. Unfortunately, after the most recent changes, I believe those were mostly negative for you, and therefore, even though people are saying that the performance of Outlaw Rogue didn't get changed as much, I have compared all of my logs from last week to this week, including Trickster build and Fatebound build, and on average I was doing less than what I was doing last week. So for the most part, I would say Outlaw is right now at least a few spots down compared to the rest of the specs. Sustain damage, still great, by the way. Still great sustain damage, likely the best so far across all rogue specs. Burst damage, non-existent. It depends how you play around, but single target on Outlaw Rogue, no bueno. Just like Sub Rogue, I would say your single target is definitely better than Sub Rogue though, but still nowhere close to what other specs can produce, which is one of the biggest reasons why I believe you are still in A tier. If they by the grace of God buff your single target, then maybe I can move you higher, but for now, I would say A tier at best. Therefore, I deemed Enhanced Shaman as unworthy and I placed them back to the A tier, which obviously it's still good place for them. Considering there's a lot of specs that are under you. There's a few issues with Enhanced Shaman right now. First of all, Totemic is still not hotfixed, which means you get to Ninja Pool a lot in Mythic Plus, which means you play Stormbringer most of the time. The burst damage of Stormbringer is insane, sustain looks a bit lower. ST looks to be average at most, playstyle and fun on Enhancer is pretty fun, durability is non-existent, utility is amazing. Totemic has better sustain, Totemic likely gonna be a better choice Mythic Plus unless they change it further. I've played both builds and I quite honestly find Totemic more fun, but I believe there are some areas where you want to actually play Stormbringer just because of the burst capabilities that it has. You know, your Ascendance, 2 minutes, boom, boom, that's it. Which I think is quite fun, especially if you don't fight a lot of targets. Now, speaking about Mass AoE, Enhanced gets absolutely cooked in Mass AoE. Once again, another issue with the spec, if you're playing large all the time, you will be falling behind. Which, again, for the most part, not ideal. That's it. Those are the pros and cons of Enhanced so far. Are they gonna get buffed next week? I have no idea. Maybe, maybe not, maybe yes. Next in line is gonna be Balanced Druid. Now, Balanced Druid has been getting, I believe this is the third consecutive buff for the spec, which makes the single target and AoE damage significantly better. Sustained damage also feels better. For the most part, you are doing pretty well, especially if you play Alun's Chosen. The ramp up damage of Balanced Druid is still horrible. At times, if you have Incarn, might not be as bad just because you have faster setup. But for the most part, it's also gonna feel horrible. But I can't deny saying this. Balance ST, a lot of people saying it's the worst in the game. I'm here to counter this and let you know, Balance does not have the worst ST. Quite contrarily, it actually does have pretty average / above average ST in Mythic Plus build. So don't do about Balance Druid. Balance is in no shape or form bad. It's just not exceptional. That's all. Perhaps another single target buff is gonna drive a spec further. Pharaoh Druid goes immediately after Balancione. And that is exactly what I just said about Pharaoh, by the way. Pharaoh AoE is exceptional well. Prior target damage, great. Sustain AoE damage no cities, great. Utility, good. Defensives, thumbs up. Unfortunately, the only downside of Pharaoh right now is pure single target. Pure single target is the only issue. I would love that to get buffed. And here is the spin of the Fury of the Pharaoh. Pharaoh doesn't do that well in Mythic rating. All of the Mythic rating testing, Pharaoh did not do well. Which means there's a very high chance that Pharaoh gets a single target buff. Which means if they get single target buff, it depends how significant it's gonna be, Pharaoh has a chance to enter A+ tier, which might make them the best or one of the best melees. That's why I am not officially done on coping on Pharaoh yet. I think it's a great pickup, one of the underrated ones out there. Believe me. Because of the most recent nerfs and all aspects are getting better, I believe you fell down from A+ to A tier, and that is gonna be Shaman, boys. I know you don't want to hear that, but I believe Shaman, even though it's still gonna do great, it's just not A+ tier worthy in my opinion. The buffs on single target, the overall nerfs, nerfs will make your SD and AoE worse. And also on top of this, you have no prior damage, and you have also no defensives, which is again several issues with Ellie right now. I think the benefits of Ellie is having decent single target and very good front load burst damage, which is, you know, great to have. But that's about it for Ellie. Oh, utility on Ellie is also pretty good. I forgot to mention that one. So, that's it. That's it about Ellie so far. I'll update you if something changes. Hunter. Hunter AoE damage is super broken. Amazing front load burst, even better sustained damage on Hunter, and a good prior target damage. Just like Pharaoh Druid, the only thing Hunter lacks is just single target. As soon as they adjust the ST, will be flying and quite frankly will be matching Survival Hunter's output. Unfortunately, that day has not come yet, hence why Hunter is going to retain a tier performer. Although you got a buff in AoE, which is actually quite good, you climbed a few rankings up. Right now, you are the top of the A tier with a very high possibilities of being A+. Fury Warrior absolutely does not belong to the A+ tier, but here's a few things I gotta say about the spec. I have tried multiple builds in Fury Warrior. Yes, Fury got nerfed for the people that don't know. I've tried Tain, I've tried Slayer. Tain, in my opinion, is still doing better than Slayer, although Slayer is getting closer. The AoE of Tain is still quite decent, even though it got nerfed. The single target so far is actually doing quite bad. One of the reasons why I believe Fury Warrior right now is a little bit in a shambles, because I personally don't know where you belong, but I believe you should be placed around A tier, maybe like middle of A tier, bottom of A tier at most. But I left it unsure because I want to explore Slayer again just for a couple more days to have a better opinion. That's why I placed it unsure yet. So in a couple of days, I'm gonna have better understanding where the spec belongs. But for now, I will not rank them anywhere. I'll place them in unsure yet. Come back next week. We're gonna speak more about Fury Warriors. After the most recent changes to Holy Paladin, they most definitely feel significantly better to play, not only from the design POV, but also tuning, better healing, better mana management. In my opinion, a lot better way to handle encounters, a lot better than having Crusader strike in, that's for sure. So therefore, I believe all of this combined together makes Holy Paladin a super strong contender for the Mythic Plus meta, with only Restoration Druid behind them, or in front of them. Restoration Druid, on the other hand, got a nerf to Mastery and a bit of a regrowth healing, which makes them reconsider their secondary stats once again and shift around the healing a bit more, but overall, still should be the best HPS healer slash the best healer so far on beta. Holy Paladin, however, following second close. Now keep in mind, the Paladin utility is still absolutely crazy, and the prior target healing is also insane. Think about all the stuff they can do. Aura Mastery, 3% perma DR, sack, right? Immunity as well, good mob control as well, and quite tanky. So once again, I think they are definitely better than the Shaman and Disc Priest, especially in the HPS department, but I feel like still there's a lot of encounters with like a lot of rot healing, and therefore Druid just does the best there, but as a Paladin it do be fine as well, trust. If you catch another buff or a rest of Druid get another nerf, Paladin might become the best healer, you know. It all depends on a future tuning with Druid so far. Brewmaster, and we've got also Vengeance DH. Those two guys are the best right now tanks to consider. Brewmaster most recently got a damage buff. So there's a rumor going around about Brewmaster damage buff, which I'm gonna tell you right now. It's apparently there's a lot of double dipping happening on Brewmaster, which some abilities do more damage. So the buff that you got was because they're trying to resolve those bugs in the near future, so they just compensate for that by preemptively giving you a buff. That's pretty much what that buff was all about. Now, is that true or false? We're gonna find out very soon. But so far, yes, they are incredibly strong defensively, which is kind of ironic because most of the time, like Brewmaster wasn't really known to be the best, like the tankiest tank, right? So they've got a quite heavy durability. The damage is one of the best so far. The only issue with Brewmaster is that you don't sync well with meta comp. If you're playing full casters, I mean, Brewmaster just doesn't fit, bro. If you're playing, let's say, mages and stuff like that, playing Brew just doesn't benefit the group whatsoever. You know, like your Mystic Touch is just useless. But on the other hand, maybe if the other melees are getting more love, perhaps they can rise to the Brewmaster and you can end up playing with them. I am not sure. But for now, I would say it's still kind of a question mark up in the air for Brews, but definitely very strong. Vengeance, on the other hand, they have bug resolved a lot of stuff on Vengeance. There's quite a few significant ones that still give them a lot more durability than they will, but as soon as they hotfix Vengeance DH, I'm pretty sure that Brew is gonna be the only tank left in a possible tank meta, aka S tier, and Vengeance will fall down. Right now, because of those bugs, Vengeance is just very, very strong defensively. Although they do good damage, has a good mob control, good utility as well. It fits caster comp way better than Brew. That still would be irrelevant if they don't have the durability to back it up. Yeah, okay, so about Guardian Druid, I think Guardian Druid comes either the second best tank or third best tank, because right now they do, after the most recent buffs to them, they do exceptional single target, one of the highest across all tanks, if not the highest. The damage output on Guardian is just crazy strong, and their durability is just doing well too. Unfortunately, the best healer so far is Restoration Druid, which makes you the second best contender for Mark of the Wild. You will never play Guardian plus Restoration Druid together, so it really depends on the future tuning of what the meta of tanks will be. But Guardian so far is doing exceptionally well, just like Brewmaster and Vengeance. I just think slightly less durable. I guess it depends on which build you are playing. But overall, Guardian is still amazing tank in my opinion. Super, super good. And last but not least is gonna be Protection Paladin. I think Protection Paladin has several issues so far. Obviously, if you don't play cutting edge content, when I mean like rank 1 title and so, Protection Paladin likely to be one of the best, if not the best tanks for this area. Unfortunately, on the highest level of keys, the durability is just not there for you. That is the only drawback of having Prot Pally, and your damage profile is just crazy, very strong. Utility is among the best so far in Mythic Plus. But sadly, the durability is the only hiccup so far. And that's about all the tanks, chat, and healers. So far, we've seen a massive spike in popularity of Brewmasters, and I'll be honest with you, if Brew ends up being meta at the beginning of the expansion, that's going to be the only time that I can recollect that Brew was entering the expansion as S tier in Mythic Plus. Think about any other season that Brew was S tier at the beginning of the expansion. I can't think of any. So this is the best news for Brewmaster players so far. You should be extremely happy. Okay. Yeah. So keep that in mind. If they by whatever reason decide to make Brewmaster the best tank, Mistweaver Monk and Windwalker Monk would most definitely fall behind. Andy Brew meta, oh shit. I remember Andy Brew, bro. He was playing a lot of Brewmaster back in the day. I remember his best days as Brew. When I started to play Mythic Plus more seriously, this is one of the tanks we used to look up as Brewmaster. He was doing some crazy stuff on his Brew. But that was a long time ago. I think that was back in like Shadowlands, BFA kind of times, you know. I'm not sure if Andy is still playing the game, however. I haven't seen him in a while, but I hope him the best. I wish him the best. It is gonna be Affliction Warlock going still to the A+ tier. Unfortunately, the Soul Harvester nerfs has been quite significant for Affliction and for Demonology, but more so for Affliction, on top of the Dark Harvest nerf for Affliction as well. All of this combined together will result in lesser AoE damage, lesser single target, but still good enough to be an A+ tier. Keep in mind, Affliction is still one of the best specs to have sustained damage output. Very strong sustained damage. So that's still a great pickup. Unfortunately, you're likely never gonna play Affliction just because Demonology is so dominant. Unless Demo gets nerfed, which I believe... Let's just put it this way. If Demo does not get nerfed by the time we get the expansion out, I will grow my hair back. I promise you. I'll grow my hair back just for the memes. But I'm very confident Demonology will get a spank. The question is not if, the question is when. The answer is gonna be in the next couple weeks. Got you. Okay. Is Devastation Evoker, even after the second consecutive nerf in a row, Devastation Evoker is still doing absolutely incredible. In my opinion, the burst AoE damage is crazy good, even stronger than most people anticipate, and the single target does not do that bad either. Not the best, not the worst, certainly above average. I think due to numbers right now, Devastation is still considered one of the better pickups for Mythic Plus, disregarding of key level, whether you play small keys, average keys, title keys, or rank 1 keys. Death can benefit with any group comp. Yes, the Death has 0 prio. The only prio is Azure Sweep. That's about it. Frost Mage is the second best Mage pick so far. The nerfs increased your single target performance for a significant AoE nerfs, which most definitely will be accounting for nerfs in AoE. And that's about Frost. You still are very tanky. You still have decent power damage. You still have good utility. Unfortunately, those nerfs will result in you dropping to the A+ tier. So let me talk about Survival, chat. So Survival Hunter is, in my opinion, still one of the better melees out there. Now, I was also a big non-believer of Survival Hunter, especially because they nerfed Sentinel, which I believe was the best Hunter spec. However, there was a new build introduced, or I guess old build, but rather becomes the best after the nerfs to Sentinel, which is the Pack Leader, which plays, in my opinion, a lot more heavily into Raptor Strikes, which technically increases your single target performance by far. Also keep in mind that that build also got buffed to have a better ST because they increased the bomb prior target damage, which in my opinion, Survival makes it still to the best performers in A+ tier and is considered right now one of the best melees to date. Or second best melee so far. What can I say about Survival, chat? Very strong burst profile, exceptionally good single target, good prior target damage as well, consistent cooldowns every 1 minute pretty much, and overall great design. I think Survival is to be the best Hunter spec by far, and unless they get nerfed again in the future, I don't think anybody will come close from the other Hunter specs. Again, unless they get nerfed in the future. Right now, they are very far ahead. Survival still gets the cake though. Now, I've decided to down rank augmentation from S tier to A+ tier because, believe it or not, in order for augmentation to become S tier, you actually need to have good specs to play with. And even though you have the perfect requirement to get into the S tier, because there are two clearly overperforming specs which you can benefit a lot, the buffs to Unholy DK and the Devourer being kind of like the glue between the two OP specs, I think augmentation just falls behind a little bit. In terms of output, you're still gonna be obviously incredibly strong, whether you're playing Mythic Plus in highest level keys or mid level keys. Augmentation still to be super strong performer. Unfortunately, that is not gonna be the case if you're playing low level keys. Hence why I feel like it's still going to be S tier for the highest of the highest keys, but for the sake of the tier list, and me considering mid-level keys as well, I would say the upper A+ tier, top 5 in the world, specs is more relevant picture. Just keep in mind that if you do play rank 1 keys or 0.1% keys, this spec becomes S tier, and it's likely to be picked up most of the time, unless obviously you are lagging behind other specs. Arcane Mage. After the most recent buffs to Arcane Mage, which absolutely made no sense to buff the AoE that much, makes Arcane Mage one of the strongest AoE output specs in the game. On top of having the insane prior damage, on top of having the insane single target, I think Arcane is just the ultimate ultimate best spec in Mythic Plus so far across every single spec. It is absolutely mental to not have Mage in Mythic Plus, and in my opinion, it will likely gonna get nerfed starting next week. Very, very, very strong when it comes down to Mythic Plus. And unfortunately for the players here, Devourer DH, although has been doing very well, I don't think it's on the same level as Mages so far. The cooldown, so pretty much you get your major cooldowns every what, like 30 to 35 seconds. Your ST is insane, your 2 targets is insane, burst damage insane. You just need to have a little bit more cooldown management awareness to make the Devourer work Mythic Plus. And even though the playstyle is pretty rigid, quite bad, the performance of Devourer is amazing so far across all key levels. You guys will be doing fantastic. Also, you fit the meta insanely well because you are super tanky. You provide the 3% more magical damage to the entire party, and you also have AoE stun, which can help you the stops too. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Demonology and Unholy DK. I'll cut to the chase. Demonology still retains the S tier spot right now in Mythic Plus. They only got nerfed as Soul Harvester, but the bugs on Demonology have not been resolved. Therefore, your performance is still amazing. You have the best single target in the game by far. You've got one of the best AoEs in the game by far. You're significantly tanky. You've got every tool to be S tier right now. And also you blend very well with Arcane Mage. In my opinion, these two specs are 100% into the S tier. And to say the least, Unholy DK, after the most recent buffs to Unholy, that made them catapult in terms of performance. And in my opinion, they have one of the strongest single targets in the game, sometimes even better than Arcane Mage. Unfortunately, not competitive enough yet with the Demonology, but as soon as Demo gets bug fixed or nerfed, Unholy might take the cake for best ST in the game. But if I gotta be honest with you, super tanky. After the buffs, you become a lot better when it comes down to Mythic Plus performance, both in AoE and ST, and you blend also well with the caster comp because you benefit from magical damage boost because you actually do get quite well with the Devourer DH buffing you, which is obviously fine. Also, you get to benefit with Restoration Druid. That's about it, chat. That's about everything so far when it comes down to the update number 8th of February.